Tarps Off Sports.
Bang! Welcome back to the Tarps Off UK MMA podcast, episode 10. We're hitting double digits here, Frank. How are we feeling today?
Yeah, we're good, man. We're good. Yeah, nice weekend of fights with Bellator and UFC. Yeah, it's all good. Burnell, best featherweight in the world.
We'll get to that, but I think Bellator definitely stole the show. It reminded me of the old Strikeforce days. Bellator is back. Yeah. The only issue is I don't see them keeping the momentum going, because if you look at like some of the early fights on the main card, they're not very competitive. You look at the betting lines, it's like minus 1,200 for Usman. Like when are they going to give him an actual opponent? It's getting a little tiring there, but they have another good main event coming up on their next card with Mousasi. They have the light heavyweight Grand Prix coming up. I'm very excited for that. If they could get some more meat on the beginning of these main cards and get some more competitive fights, I think they would really get the ball rolling there and have a wonderful product. Right now, I feel like they're halfway there, but there's still some work to do.
Yeah, 100%. Bellator have been a weird one this year because they started off so strong with their lightweight tournament, light heavyweight tournament. And, you know, I was probably getting into it. They've got the deal over here in the UK with BBC now, which means we can just watch it on Freeview, which is great. But yeah, they tailed off a bit, and then suddenly they come back with a great card this weekend. Maybe they can keep the momentum going. You know, we'll see what Scott Coker does.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that light heavyweight Grand Prix coming up for sure too. Rumble Johnson versus Nemkov. I got Nemkov winning that one, and then you got Corey Anderson versus Bader, which that one almost feels closer now.
Corey Anderson's winning. I've said this from this. This might have even been episode 1, episode 2 of this podcast. Corey Anderson is winning that whole tournament. I guarantee it.
I'm picking Bader to win the fight and Nemkov to win the tournament. But like, it's now that it's coming up, I'm starting to, you know, maybe I could find myself on Corey Anderson's train on fight night. I don't know. I'm getting closer to it for sure.
I'm locked in.
Yeah, we had quite the main event. Pitbull versus AJ McKee. AJ McKee here is new. I was shocked at the manner it happened in. I mean, were you expecting a first-round finish for AJ McKee? I figured if it gets done in the first round, that means Pitbull won.
No, I wasn't surprised, really. I thought... I didn't know how it was going to go. I thought it was going to end in the first 2 rounds, though, like before we saw a third. And to be honest, AJ McKee called it, didn't he? He said he was going to get that high kick. Yeah, and that's what happened. He didn't quite get the walk-off KO that he wanted, but you know, he adapted and locked in that standing guillotine, and yeah, night Pitbull. I don't know. It's quite funny actually, because that guillotine is sort of Pitbull's signature submission, isn't it? You know, he got him out in the Sanchez with that last time.
And I thought there was some controversy almost around the stoppage. Like, I mean, I don't mind the stoppage because, let's be honest, there's no way that Pitbull wasn't eventually going to go out. But you see like Ariel Helwani tweet like out cold. And I was like, come on, bro, like delete that or at least put a correction to it, because Pitbull was definitely not out cold. I thought it was actually kind of disrespectful that some people were saying that he was out cold.
I feel like who was it? Beltran, wasn't it? I feel like he got him just as he sort of slipped into unconsciousness, not to the point where he was out for like an extended period of time, but I think he did go out for a second, because you see that arm go limp, and when Beltran's holding him, he's like looking around like, he protests, but he looks so dazed and confused.
Oh, I think he was about to go out. I just don't like saying like out cold when he's not out cold. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind the stoppage. I saw that there was some people that said that they mind it. And actually, in the moment, Pitbull was mad about the stoppage, but he later went back, watched it again, and was like, okay. So he's not complaining about it. So shut up, everybody. But yeah, AJ McKee puts on a super impressive performance. I don't think anybody in Bellator is going to beat him at the 145 division, except maybe Pitbull in a rematch. I want to see that fight again. I'm not fully convinced that AJ McKee is miles better than Pitbull, But I mean, if he beats him again, I might be.
Do you think AJ's the best featherweight in the world right now? Because it seemed on the stream you said Holloway's overrated.
I do. Well, I don't like saying Holloway's overrated. It's like, because like he's such a great fighter, but people just add to it way too much. Like it's not his fault that like his fans are a little delusional. So I don't really like calling him overrated because he is a very good fighter.
I don't think he's overrated. Did you see what he did to Calvin Kattar? I just, that performance I think makes him worthy of any of these like high standards. I think Volkanovski
is probably the best featherweight in the world, but I've seen people talking about one championship's Christian Lee, and I know he fights at lightweight over there, and lightweight's a little heavier because of their hydration thing and how they really don't cut weight. I don't know if he can make 145. I would like to almost, I mean, I don't, we talked to him on the podcast, and Christian kind of said it would be a very hard weight cut. He doesn't think he would do it. So I don't know why people are putting him in the conversation for best 145, because I do think he's a 155er. So I would go with Volkanovski's probably the best featherweight. But before last night, I would have told you it was Pitbull. But I'm not giving AJ. But if AJ defends that title a whole bunch, like maybe he can get there. I'm not saying like, oh, he's not the best. Like he can't get there. No, it's very achievable, but I'm not ready to put him there just yet.
Okay, so he doesn't slide into that slot that Pitbull was in just because he beat him?
No, I slide Volkanovski up into it right now.
Is that down to like Pitbull's age? Because he is what, 34 now, so like maybe he's fallen off. I mean, it's hard to say that. It's the way he dominated Sanchez in his last fight. Just, I don't know. It's a strange.
I know.
One.
I feel like the fight's almost not over. I feel like they need to have that immediate rematch. I would actually rather see it go down at featherweight, but I know you talked about how you think the rematch is going to go down at lightweight, and I think it makes more dollars and cents than it does sense. And usually that's what MMA promotions end up going with, is what makes more dollars and cents. So I think you might be right here, and I think we could see the rematch at lightweight.
If you think about it, it's like you could do it at lightweight, and then even if. Well, no, I think McKee would win at lightweight just because then there really is going to be a size discrepancy.
Exactly. It doesn't make it a closer fight. Pitbull's got a better chance at featherweight.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, with Bellator then have a built-in #1 contender fight with Petr. That's an instant rivalry, and they can just throw him up against AJ.
Absolutely, yeah, and that makes a ton of sense too. And then there's Pitbull, after he fights his brother again, does he go and try to get his featherweight strap back? Is AJ McKee going to be just fighting the Pitbull brothers for the next 2 years?
No, because Burnell is going to submit and take the featherweight title.
Burnell actually really impresses me, though. I mean,
I've been saying for so long, though. Come on.
Yeah, but I haven't seen him get absolutely croaked like he did last night. Like, Sanchez was absolutely buckling him on the chin, and it wasn't doing anything to Mads. He was just still walking forward.
I presume because you guys watched it on the stream, you didn't hear Big John McCarthy's commentary, which was just like so one-sided and biased. You can see why he gets all the criticism he gets, just because he was just so on Sanchez's side the whole time. He was certainly won like a clear like 28-20. I forget the ranking. He thought he won it clear. When like if you do look at the fight, half of Sanchez's strikes, they're just coming off Burnell's guard. You know, Burnell was boxing basically. Sanchez was fighting a mixed martial arts fight. For the first 2 rounds, Burnell was just boxing with the occasional takedown. For someone who's sort of been put out there as a BJJ sort of savant, the man can crack. He was landing big shots. There was a bit of a lack of head movement. That's the only thing that I don't like. Yeah,
he did get a little pieced up there a couple of times. But also the Muay Thai of Emmanuel Sanchez is immaculate. It's spectacular. It's world class. So the fact that he can eat those shots, because a lot of people have not been able to eat those shots. Sanchez has not had a hard time either knocking people out or hurting them and getting them to the ground and submitting them. I was very impressed with Mads Burnell. I think he is a real contender, possible future champion. I would like to see him in that fight versus AJ McKee. I'm going to bet my money on AJ McKee, but I think Mads Burnell can make it a hell of a contest. I do,
and I just think he's so tricky. I was actually, you know what? I was going to say he'd have the advantage on the ground, but AJ is real tricky as well. It's just an interesting fight, you know. And yeah, I always say Mads is the best heavyweight in the world, but he potentially could be up there. It's a really weird one. If you remember back in his UFC days, he fought Arnold Allen and dominated Arnold Allen, who's like an undefeated in the UFC. I still
don't understand why the UFC got rid of Mads Burnell.
Bizarre, wasn't it? But he dominated Arnold Allen for like 2.5 rounds until he got caught in a submission. He's good. He's really good. And I just hope he gets a sort of platform to show that.
Absolutely. And then we'll switch over and talk about the UFC card. We saw Sean Strickland made big waves, made some enemies on the internet with some of his comments leading into UFC Vegas 33. And honestly, some of these people that are writing these blogs and these articles about mixed martial arts and Sean Strickland, go fuck yourself, to be honest, because if you're going into the cage, Jake Shields says it all the time on the Jake Shields podcast. You have to be willing to kill somebody or die. They all know that. They all know that when they sign on the dotted line. So when he says that, that's not a stain on the sport. It's not a stain on the sport. You have to be willing to kill somebody or die in the octagon, or else you get hurt going in there. So leave your bullshit articles at the door. But Sean Strickland also says that if it weren't for the UFC and the fans, he would probably be in a trailer cooking meth in prison somewhere. Hey. I mean, he's a fan favorite.
Is he?
For obvious reasons. Oh, yeah, he's crazy. You love it when he fights.
He's controversial, isn't he? I don't know if he... I think he's like, there's a split. People either love him or hate him.
Yeah. I mean, he talks a lot.
Yeah, and that's part of the fun. I mean, he didn't do it against Uriah Hall too much. Maybe because there is some mutual respect between the two. Obviously, they trained together.
Yeah.
Back before Strickland's big accident, when they had him up for like over 2 years. So there was some mutual respect. But yeah, Strickland looked great. And Strickland, yeah, he's just gone from strength to strength since coming back from that injury, to be honest. And now obviously moved up to middleweight as well. And yeah, nothing too flashy about him. He has fundamentals, like nice jab. I think he's left-handed, but fights orthodox. So he's jabbing with his lead hand. His strong hand.
Yeah,
yeah. Which is why that jab looks so crisp all the time. I guess the only thing that he was lacking in that fight was the finish, and I feel like I don't know if you can put it down to Uriah Hall's toughness or his lack of finishing power.
Uriah Hall is a very tough guy to finish, and Sean Strickland has never had a problem having violent fights. I mean, he goes in there and goes to war.
Just into the KO power, though, like actual knockout power.
Yeah, but what's next for Sean Strickland?
I got it. Jack Manson, easy.
Okay, that's not the route I thought you were gonna go. To be honest, I should have expected the UK route.
He's not UK. He's from Norway or Sweden.
Or Norway or Sweden. I always think he's from the UK. I don't know why. But
wait, who do you think I was going for?
See, your fight makes sense. Now, if I look on paper, that's actually the name that I was like, that makes the most sense for him to fight. So I agree with you there. But what do I think the UFC is going to do? No, I don't think they're gonna do the fight that makes sense, and that should be the fight. I think they're going to put Strickland up against Kevin Holland because they both love to talk in the cage. They'll sell the fight. You can put it as a main event. Whereas if he fights Hermanson, it's probably either going to be a co-main event or maybe somewhere at the bottom of a pay-per-view card.
Solid co-main.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I like Holland. I like that fight. It's another one where, similar to, I suppose, the Hall fight, in that you've got someone with the basics in Strickland and you've got the unorthodoxness in Holland, but both very high-level strikers. I like it. But Strickland did say in the post-fight conference that he wasn't interested in a fight with Kevin Holland. And I would not be surprised if they make the Jack Hermansson fight, because everyone's tied up.
I wouldn't be shocked either way.
Everyone's tied up in the division. Hermansson is at 6, I think.
I thought it was at 5. It could be at 6.
Yeah, around that mark anyway. I'm not sure if they like boosted up Darren Till just because he's fighting soon.
They do like to do that every now and then.
Yeah. And then Holland's outside the top 10 now, so I think Strickland will probably move up to around 8 once the rankings come in on Tuesday.
Oh,
so
Hermansson's 6. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like 8 versus 6 would make sense. And you know, Hermansson's not competed since the start of this year. I know he wanted Paulo Costa, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, I say book it. And Hermansson's definitely going to just heel hook him or something, get that Joker-tine.
Does Costa have a fight lined up now or no?
I'm not sure.
I feel like one fell through for him, and now he's been acting a little strange on Twitter. So I'm wondering. I'm not really going to get into that here, but
the Cannonier fight fell through, and then he had like hairline surgery, which has him out for like several months. So yeah, I don't know what the hell's happening with Paulo Costa.
I think he's enjoying himself right now. He seems like he's having a good time. Best of luck to Paulo Costa and whatever he's doing. But we have a big main event this weekend coming up. Derrick Lewis versus Ciryl Gane. Who do you think is going to win this one? And be biased.
I'm not going to. Ciryl Gane is winning this every day of the week in my book. You know. No, I'm a huge Ciryl Gane fan, to be honest. Everyone loves Derrick Lewis.
I actually am too. That's the thing. It's like normally I always root for Gane, but he's going against Derrick Lewis. So it's like
I feel that. But in my eyes, ever since Gane came into the UFC, I've sort of looked at him as like a pioneer of this sort of new wave of heavyweights in mixed martial arts, because now you've seen people follow him in that like he moves, he strike like almost point strikes at times. The footwork is such a big part of his game. He doesn't necessarily rely on like one punch knockout power, and you're seeing sort of like similar other fighters sort of following his footsteps in like Tom Aspinall. I mean, I know he's got a lot of finishes, but he moves in a similar way, and I think he's the future of MMA heavyweights.
Well, Derrick Lewis, he might not float like a butterfly, but he certainly can sting like a bee. If he does get that one punch, I mean, he can knock people out. But it's going to be hard to hit Gane because, like you said, he moves so well. If he does get himself into trouble, I wonder if he could take down Derrick Lewis. My guess is probably.
I don't know. Lewis is hard to take down, though.
He's very hard to take down, but Gane's an animal.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Gane doesn't have a wrestling base. He's got a Muay Thai base, I think, and he does shoot for takedowns, but he's not a specialist at it. Not like, say, Curtis Blades. I mean, remember what happened to Curtis Blades?
Well, yeah, Curtis Blades went to shoot, and Derrick Lewis said goodnight with a huge uppercut. But it's going to be interesting because I think Gane can point strike, like you mentioned, and win the fight fairly easily. But does he take that risk and get knocked out versus Derrick Lewis? Because, I mean, when you're in there, it's a different story.
You know what? It's going to be a really weird comparison, but I kind of see it as my take on it is similar to that of how I looked at Sean Strickland versus Uriah Hall, in that I thought Strickland would win the fight for the whole fight, every round. I thought he'd win until Hall landed something and just knocked him out like that. I think Ciryl Gane can win, 4 rounds easy, and then suddenly get clipped at 4.5 and just get knocked out. And that's all it takes. That's the fun part of this fight, especially at heavyweight, because the knockout power is, accentuated by 100 times. So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
I'm so excited for that fight, honestly, just because Derrick Lewis is involved. So, there's going to be funny comments coming back and forth this week. If Derrick Lewis wins, the post-fight is going to be like the most clippable moment in the year for MMA.
It's in Texas as well.
It just always
remember?
is. Yeah, and it's in Houston, so Derrick Lewis is going to be extra, you know, Derrick Lewis.
My balls were hot.
Why'd you take your pants off? My balls was hot. I understand. Yeah, one of the best post-fight interviews ever. But we're actually going to completely do a 180 in direction here and go from Derrick Lewis to Anglin and Song, who couldn't be more opposite people. Anglin and Song this weekend at One Championship finally got back to his winning ways. Leandra Tiddi versus Anglin Song was probably the most hyped fight for the card. It was the people's main event. They clashed in. I talked to both fighters in the lead up in the media day before, and Tiddi said he was going to strike with Anglin Song, and I was a little like, oh, I don't know if he actually is. And then the fight starts, and he does try to strike with him, but Anglin Song started to get the better of him, and then he shot for that takedown, and I was like, oh no. I was like, the people of Myanmar are all in our stream. We've got like 50,000 of them in there. I'm like, no, your boy can't lose this fight with everybody in here. And then Anglin Song gets up. He rallies back and he gets the first round knockout. Congratulations, Anglin Song. Just an inspiration to that entire country and all those people. Did you get to take any of that in, Frank? And how do you feel about that?
I love 1FC cards because they're like midday for us here in the UK. So that's just beautiful on YouTube as well. I put out a post on Twitter saying I only started following Anglin Song last year, I believe. I wrote up a big preview for Tarps Off on his first fight with Leandra and broke him down, broke the whole fight down and properly looked into Anglin Song's background and was like, oh, this guy, there's something there. You know, there's really something there. And then he goes out and loses twice to Uriah, which was just tragic to see. And I've wanted to be a fan from Anglin Song this whole time. And finally I got to see him in all his majesty. And he looked great. You know, what I thought was interesting, when the fights first started, he goes out there and his straight shots looked beautiful, like really crisp boxing. But he was like looping his hooks a lot. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. But then, I mean, the fight only went like, 3 minutes? But even within those 3 minutes, his hooks got crisper, his boxing got tighter. It improved in 3 minutes of combat. So yeah, I just thought it was incredible.
Yeah, it was nice, and he's got the beard now. The power of the beard. That's what I'm probably chalking up his success to. Yeah, we love a nice beard here at Tarps Off Sports, and me and Mancuso made sure to both comment on it in the press conference. But yeah, One Championship has been killing it. That entire card was fantastic from top to bottom. How tall is I can't remember it. I'm missing out on his name right now.
He's like 4 foot, the little wrestler.
Yes, and he's slamming guys. He's 4'6", and he's just tossing people around the cage. It was so fun to see. That was a great card. And I said before, I'm like, because I had watched him fight before, so I'm telling Mancuso, I'm like, no, he's got power. Like hold the phone. Like don't just. He's not out of this.
Yeah, it was great. And we saw the youngest of the Lee siblings. Is it Victoria?
Victoria Lee, yes.
Yeah, who looked incredible. Came out and locked up was it a triangle in the end? Or a straight armbar? I can't remember. But yeah, looked incredible. Dominated the fight. Didn't let it get out of the first round.
Well, she predicted a first-round submission, and she went out there and she got a first-round submission. And Angela Lee will be finding out her new opponent once the atomweight Grand Prix gets underway and finished. So she's going to be returning to action before you know it. Christian Lee, I'm still waiting to hear an opponent. He just became a new father. Angela just became a new mother. So the Lee family is getting a lot bigger over there. Yeah,
they're growing.
they're growing. Victoria says that neither of those kids are going to be fighters, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, there's something in that bloodline.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, very exciting things coming out of one championship. You want to know what's not exciting, Frank?
Shoot.
The UK card seems like it's...
Oh, don't. Jeez. I was, heartbroken to see that. I had a feeling it was coming because Boris Johnson, he was saying, this year looks like only Premier League football matches are going to be full capacity stadiums. And I was like, wait. The UFC aren't going to come over to London unless they can do a full capacity stadium, are they? And a week later, bang, moved to Vegas.
So why is it that soccer is able to be full capacity, but mixed martial arts can't be?
I don't know. I suppose it's just maybe more profitable. Like the Premier League's like the biggest sport over here, so maybe they're just limiting it. I don't know. They didn't even give a reason. They just said only Premier League football or soccer.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, football. We'll talk about it in your English terms over there. Darren Till is kicked out of Instagram. We're not going to touch on that on this podcast.
No.
But, we are out of here for the rest of this week. We will be back next week. We're getting out of here like Darren Till got out of Instagram.